Hi, I'm Dr. Craig Uria, performance nutritionist, chiropractor, and part-time professional mountain biker. We're here to talk about nutrition with a special topic on performance nutrition for our young athletes. We're leading up into the schools series, so I'm here to just give you some guidance on fueling, recovery, and just general health. My key nutritional principles for young athletes would certainly be adequate energy. The young athlete and the youth are generally quite active, so we've got to make sure that we're getting in enough energy, and that's going to come through a balanced diet. And that's going to go into my next point, is making sure that we have a nice balance of our macronutrients. That's going to be your protein, your fats, and which is really important, your carbohydrates. I would say, aiming at our audience being a cyclist, we would need at least 50 to 60% of our diet coming through carbohydrates. Protein will be a very important macronutrient, and that's not just for muscle, but it's actually for growth and development. We need those amino acids for all the enzymes, all the metabolic processes that go on in the body that have to do with growth. So adequate protein intake is important. And then lastly, our fats. We want to make sure that we're getting an adequate fat amount to help with absorption of certain vitamins, cell repair, hormones, and quite an important nutrient too. The next key principle would be the micronutrients, and that's quite important because we need vitamins and minerals in our development, and especially for a young athlete. So again, we can come in with a food first approach there, making sure we're getting adequate vegetables, adequate fruit in the diet, and then a good variety of foods, ticking all those boxes. We do need to keep in account that there are deficiencies in some of these areas, so it's always best to consider them. And main minerals that one would need is that, your calcium, your vitamin D, phosphorus, those type of things. Next, I'm going to say hydration would be the next principle. That's really important, key for just general health, but also when we come back to the sport and the performance side, we really need to make sure that we're hydrating properly and not in a dehydrated state. Another thing I'd say, one of my principles would be nutrient timing. When are we going to have these meals? When before practice, before a race, after recovery, and then just generally through the day. I think that's quite important to understand and make sure that we touch on. My next principle would be gut health, and I think that's quite important on two different elements here. Is we're looking at health, and we want to keep the gut really in a good, healthy state. We can bring in our probiotics, our prebiotics through certain foods, fermented foods. You can use probiotic supplements. It's a bit of a gray area. We've got some great research in the space, but there's so many out there that it's not always easy to cover all of those. And then gut health, as far as training and racing, I think one needs to take into account that we need to train the gut. So we need to get used to the foods that we're eating either on the bike or before the bike, that before we head out on our training ride or during our race. And lastly, I'm going to just touch on some education. And I think what I mean by education is educating our young athletes in understanding how food and diet is so important and such a crucial part of development, and then certainly onto their sport, and understanding that they need to fuel for the work required, but also recover well, and that will also give them some additional energy, concentration span through the day, through school, through life. And those are the principles we want to kind of plant now in a young athlete so that they can go on and really succeed.